Hey everyone, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Sue. I'm a freshman at Drexel, and today I'm going to share a little bit about what God's been doing in my life. A lot of people have these crazy, ridiculous stories of how they came to Christ, which describes somebody who had a tough childhood or overcame some sort of addiction, followed by their encounter with Christ, which turned their life around. I, however, am not one of those people. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a Christian family, which had minimal problems. My mom is very kind and loving. My father is a great, responsible person. He's a great example, and my sister is essentially my best friend. I was raised in the church and went through 14 years of Christian schooling. And I accepted Christ when I was in first grade. But I don't think I truly understood what it meant to be like a Christian. Since then, my parents have asked me multiple times about getting baptized, and I would always respond with something along the lines of, well, I don't think I'm ready to be baptized, or whatever. At the time, I thought that in order to be baptized, you had to have a perfect life, and you had to follow Christianity to a T. And clearly, I didn't understand that that's not what baptism is about, and that it's about an open statement of faith showing that Christ is the center of our lives. Because I knew that I wasn't perfect at the time. I didn't think I was ready to be baptized, and to a degree I wasn't, but not because I was imperfect, but because I was unsure of who I was in God. My most troublesome years were in early high school. I was very depressed. I didn't hang out with people. I argued with my teachers and got in trouble a lot. I liked picking fights, and I was very passive-aggressive. And as a result, people didn't like talking with me, and my parents had a really hard time trying to figure me out. This continued through my freshman year and partway through my sophomore year. But during the Christmas season, God showed me how foolish I had become. On Christmas Day, I gathered with my family like every year, but the day after, my parents got in a fight. It was small enough that it didn't affect their relationship, but big enough that it showed me how foolish and stupid being aggressive and fighting all the time was. I decided to rededicate my life to Christ, and with his help, I stopped picking fights. I became far more pleasant, and I developed an ever-growing desire to become more and more like him. Granted, the revival process was not without difficulty, since I had developed a reputation of being the crazy emo kid that everyone should avoid, not hang out with. So, but I turned over a new leaf. But telling people I was different was different from showing people I was different. And despite the fact that I wanted people to like me, God showed me that that's not really what was important, and that I should focus on making my life mimic him and having him as the center of my life. And if I did that, then he would work on my behalf. And he did. So people who told me that they used to hate me are now some of my best friends. And some people who don't talk to me still, or aren't my friends, still are willing to talk to me, which is nice. Although God made me much happier than I had been before, I still had a lot to learn about being a Christian. The time that I matured the most in my spiritual life was when I started college. GCC is the third church of which I've been a regular attender. My first church taught me basic Bible stories about growing up and the stuff you learn when you're a kid if you grew up in the church. In middle school, I moved to a church that was closer to my home, but I don't think it really truly pushed me to grow in my faith or to go out and show people that I'm a Christian or what Christianity is all about. When I was getting ready to go to college, I went scouting to try to find a church in the area. I came across GCC and I thought it was perfect. It was within walking distance of my dorm. The sermons were deep and thought-provoking. The pastor was outrageously funny, and etc. So But the most important aspect of GCC was that it pushed me far outside of my comfort zone. I developed the habit of praying regularly. I'm far more open about sharing faith, and I'm now far more sure of who I am in Christ than I've ever been. I realized that Christianity is not about being perfect and following all the rules exactly. Rather, it is a process by which we surrender our lives to God and allow Him to mold us and shape us to become more like Him. One of the Bible's better known verses, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, says that love is patient and kind. It isn't envious, boastful, proud, rude, self-seeking, or easily angered. It doesn't hold grudges or take pleasure in evil, but in truth. It always protects, trusts, hopes, and perseveres. 1 John 4:8 also says God is love. Therefore, by the transitive property of equality, He must be all of those things. Again, delayed reaction. Again, Christianity is about allowing God to make us more like Him. Do I want to become all of these things? Yes.